For some analysis of the president's speech, we turn to Shibley Telhami. He is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and the Anwar Sadat Professor for Peace and Development at the University of Maryland. He joins us from Washington. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Do you think that President Obama hit all the right notes in his speech today?
He certainly started changing the conversation. He built on his previous conversations in the Muslim world. He focused on issues. His tone was respectful. It was frank, as he said he wanted to be. He took his audiences seriously. I think the audiences are taking him seriously. That's very important. He moved the conversation a little bit away from the generalities into the specific issues that he knows they care about: the Iraq issue, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, human rights, Afghanistan, economic development, all the issues that are important. He focused on those. And at the same time, he addressed the issue of religion, because that is obviously a focal point, while not trying to portray a, quote, a Muslim world as another world, while trying to, in some ways, change the conversation that emerged during the 8 years of the Bush administration, particularly after 9/11.
And as we heard in the piece just before this interview, there are people in the Middle East who say that they want to see action, not just hear very well-spoken words from the president. What kind of action do they mean?
No question. They want to see action on the issues they care mostly about. On the Iraq issue, he's already announced he wants to pull out. That's popular. They want to test him on that. Ended torture and declared intention to close Guantanamo. That's popular. They want to see what happens on that. But above all, they want to see what's going to happen on the Palestinian-Israeli front. That remains the prism of pain through which most Arabs, at least, and many Muslims see the United States. Polls indicate that year after year. And I think in some ways they're going to watch and see what happens on that. I should say at the same time, they also want to see a change in tone. Tone is important. We know that in public opinion polls so far, the tone of the administration has made a difference. And I think you start by getting the attention of the public. The conversation moved into specific issues. That's a good thing. And I think the public in Arab and Muslim countries is really listening to this president.
Was the president talking to more than just a Muslim audience today? In other words, could there have been some concern for domestic consumption?
I actually think there were not just domestic, no question there's a domestic audience, but there's also an international audience. And he framed the issues, frankly, in terms of broader global human rights, international law. So there was a message in it of interdependence. There was a message of principles that are not specific to America dictating or to the Muslim worlds, given their religion and culture. He broadened that message. But yes, there was a message to the American public as well, because the discourse that we've witnessed that has been counterproductive in the relationship with many countries in the Arab and Muslim world was also flawed here. Our narrow understanding of Arabs and Muslims, seeing them mostly through the prism of pain of our own, which is 9/11, broadening the conversation, talking about the richness of Islamic tradition, talking about even about Islam in America that many Americans don't know about, and even on the Palestinian issue, when he said Palestinians, quote, Muslims and Christians, that's an education to the American public who doesn't realize that many Palestinians are also Christian.
We have to leave it there. Shibley Telhami, as always, we appreciate your insight. Thank you.
My pleasure.